swarming in as the sessions move forward, and they've been enjoying some absolutely wonderful weather conditions. So here's what we have this morning. 5 finals as mentioned. 4 in the field and 1 on the track. That 1 on the track will involve James Turner of Australia, the defending champion and Paralympic champion in the men's 400 metres T36. Women's long jump T12, the medium visual impairment category for that one. We'll also get the T20s underway in the women's 400 metre heats, the intellectual impairment category, and those races are some of the best you will see at these championships. The tactics not always spot on, but they enthrall the crowd watching it. So it's pretty obvious what the weather is going to look like today. Sunshine all around. There has been the threat of late thunderstorms. They haven't materialised, thankfully. Slight breeze to talk of, 23 degrees at present. Expect that to ramp up as this morning session goes on, both off and on the track. And those people are still flying in here to Paris. 6 more days of competition still to go after this one, so there is plenty to catch indeed. And if you're in the vicinity, feel free to come down. Around 10 euros for a ticket, and you'll get full value for money, I can tell you right now. A very good morning from Paris. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever it may be. I'm Tolson Tollett. Alongside me, as usual, is Will Downing. Steph Reed will be our expert summariser. Her husband, Brent Lakatos, actually competes in this morning session, the Canadian T53 wheelchair racer. So we'll get a great insight into the preparations of the Canadian. Hats, the order of the day. Sun cream. Umbrellas, if you're lucky enough to have them as well. And pastries. Windsock there, you can see, not too much breeze at all. So as far as the long jumpers go down there, Will Downing, it's going to be a pretty pleasant morning.
It's looking at so far, definitely. Sun beaming down. The past couple of mornings have been overcast, but still very clement and warm. So those 5 finals actually begin very early this morning, just knocking on 9 a.m. Paris time. Central European summertime. The men's shot put at 53. Seated category, one of the more impaired categories. Remember, when the last digit, the lower it is, the stronger the impairment. The women's discus F64. That gets underway in around 4 or 5 minutes time. That's the single below knee amputee category. Men's shot put F40, athletes of shorter stature, which means Sergio Bors is in that, who is the flute player from Moldova in the Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool in May. So most of Europe has already seen him in a European final this year, but this is a world one. Women's long jump T12 as well. That's the category of medium visual impairment, which is basically 1% to 5% vision. And then we've got the evening finals in the field. Just that one track final coming up this morning in around 30 minutes time, and that will be the men's 400 T36. And here come the F40 competitors, and Sergio Bors to the right hand side. There he is after his big week on Merseyside in May. So there's 2 shot put finals happening simultaneously, 10 in that F40 decider, 9 in F53. As always, Lots of you will be watching for very many years, so you'll know what the categories are, but we always like to give a very brief explanation for viewers who are with us for the first time, which is always the case. We've got action on the track quite early on today in comparison to previous mornings. That'll be the T20 women's 400 meters heats. That's intellectual impairment. So Yulia Shular of Ukraine, who's been a regular medalist in that, she'll be in the first of the heats in 12 minutes time. And there she is. Normally reaches the final.
Reigning European champion, so she's got the experience to go with it. Silver
representing
here in these World Championships back in 2019. There's a good shot of the shot put.
The Paralympic champion and world champion Yao Chuan.
No, Barbara Novitsil in the 400 meters T20, a perennial medalist over the years.
And representing United States of America.
So it's going to be at this side, just past the finish line, where that F40 final is going to be for the men's shot put. Now that's underway in half an hour's time, so they'll have half an hour's warm-up. For Morocco there, that's Redouane Tabit. For Portugal, Miguel Monteiro. And for Iraq, Gara Tanayesh, who is a regular championship medalist. And that'll be along the same lines as the, what we used to call the IAAF circuit until they changed their name a couple of years ago. World Para Athletics, I think, just got there first by a couple of months. Mahmoud Noordin, who'll be in this for Singapore. And if he can get a 10-meter effort today, that will be a lifetime best for him. For Argentina, this will be Andres Pinijo. He's an 8:69 man. And there's our man Sergio, who 400 million people have already seen this year. And they made the final, which is good news for them. They didn't have Epic Sax Guy this year, but they had Epic Shot Guy. And now we're awaiting another Epic.
Indeed, the women's 400 meters T20. Steph Reid alongside me. World Championship gold medalist in 2017 in the long jump. And Steph, good morning.
Good morning, Telson. I think Telson is referring to the fact that I was a tiny little bit late this morning. I got my timings mixed up, which is easy to do when it's a really big schedule, and there is tons on this morning.
See, when you said see you at 9:30, I thought you were joking. Okay.
I was thinking you set me up well.
Well, sometimes you have to work with amateurs. Sometimes you have to work with Will Downing. So the women's 400 meters T20 intellectual impairment category. Just warm me up down there. There are 6 athletes set to go in the opening heat. It will be the first 3 who will advance through to the final, and there are another 6 due to go in the second, including Brianna Clark, the world and championship record holder, who will go in heat number 2.
The content of your day with your
So before we get into this, it's a big day for your family as well, with your husband who's competing in the men's 400 meter T53 opening rounds around 11 o'clock local time.
That is true. Again, part of the reason why I was a little thrown off this morning. Brent competed in Tokyo 2020, and he had a bit of a break. He wasn't, and he's been competing for a long time, since 1996. He wasn't sure if he was ready to retire or if he was just a little bit burnt out. But he decided a few months ago, actually, he was looking to compete in Paris 2024. And this championships, one of the reasons why it's so important, and one of the reasons why Canada very much wanted him to compete here, is because athletes are earning what we would call quota spots for Paris in 2024.
Well, we're looking forward to that. We're hoping you keep a neutral view of the race when we get to it. We'll see what happens there. So we're ready to go in the women's 400 metres T20, the opening heat. Just a moment ago, again, you saw Yulia Shula of Ukraine, who's the reigning European champion, who will go from lane 3 on the inside. You can see to the top right of your screen there, the Ukrainian. And there are a couple of 17-year-olds making their major championship debut as well in this race. Silver medalist in 2019, the Ukrainian. She'll be looking to go one better this time. She also took silver in the Paralympic Games in Tokyo as well, and a silver medalist in Berlin back in 2018 in the European Championships before she claimed gold in Bydgoszcz a couple of years ago. Felix Barbosa of Brazil,
During the women's discus throw
in the World Juniors
64 final,
in 2019, she took a silver medal, and she was a bronze medalist in the Paralympic Games in Tokyo as well.
The first
Minda of Ecuador, 17 years of age, first major championships, and couldn't have a better morning
for Team Australia.
to run. 23 degrees, no wind to talk of. One lap of the track, that's all that's required. But the 400 is quite tough. Kira Mine of Belgium, also 17 years of age in the foreground there. And mixed in between, the Hungarian Erika Keresztesi, who was a silver medalist way back in Swansea in 2014.
32 medals, 93 for Sarah Misden, taking the lead of the women's discus.
So this is a heat. We do have 5 medals of the gold, silver and bronze variety of each to be given out on the opening morning. 4 in the field, and there'll be 1 on the track a little bit later. But this is the opening heat of the morning session on the track. Wonderful shot of the stadium there here in the south of Paris. High jump just to your right there. We saw a
Next athlete to throw during the men's shot
shared gold medal yesterday.
Final.
And
Just near
the
for
high jump will be used
from
again
the women's discus throw final.
throughout these championships. Day 4, technically, day 3 of competition, because on the opening day we had some qualifiers and the opening ceremony. Brianna Clark goes in the second of these heats. 55.18 the world record, 56.33 that championship record she set in London 6 years ago. The 3 fastest will go through from each of these heats, and then we'll be looking for the 2 best qualifying times after those 6 athletes across the 2 heats have gone through. Now this is the T20 category, intellectual impairment. Sometimes in the 400 metres it's a race about pacing yourself as well as a sprint, and sometimes athletes do go out a little bit too quick, and it does become an issue as far as their pacing goes.
This is the first time that we are seeing the T20 events on the track, and as you said, T20 is an intellectual impairment which affects conceptual, social and practical adaptive skills. So pacing is a challenge for everyone, let's be honest. At a 400 meters it can be especially challenging in this event.
Well, there's a lady who knows how to pace herself. Yulia Shula from Ukraine will go in lane 3. Jardinia Felix Barbosa will go from lane 4, the silver medalist in the World Junior Championships in 2019. Justina Franczek of Poland, bronze in 2021 in Bydgoszcz in her home championships there. Minda of Ecuador, 17 years of age, making her debut at a major championship. Outside her in lane 7, Erika Keresztesi of Hungary, silver medalist back in Swansea in 2014 in the Europeans. And Kira Mine of Belgium, another 17-year-old, making her major championship debut in lane 8. So these intellectual races, they do go all the way through the longer distances as well. It is sometimes about pacing yourself and about making sure you take in instructions beforehand and follow those instructions. And there are some extremely good athletes. No Barbara Novitzil in this T20 400 metres in either heat. always been a great athlete over the years and rarely got beaten. So they're ready to go in the women's 400 metres T20 opening heat, and they all get away well, and getting away really good is Minda of Ecuador, the 17-year-old who's raced up on the outside of Kira Mine, her fellow 17-year-old. It's those two who are taking it down the back straight, and Minda of Ecuador is making up some real good ground on the stagger as she heads with half the race left to go. Yulia Shulia of Ukraine, the European champion, now is putting the foot down with around 150 metres to go. Now remember, it's the first three who automatically qualified through to the final. So those two well out in front at the moment. It's just a case of measuring themselves and making sure they just finish the race nice and calmly, and that's exactly what Yulia Shulia is doing, the European champion, silver in the Paralympic Games back in Tokyo 2020, and she has eased down over the line. Coming in second, only just mind, is Minda, and the Pole Justina Franchek has picked up third place. 58.18 the time there for Yulia Shulia, so a couple of seconds outside the championship record, but she paced it really well. That lady there went out at a very fast pace, the 17-year-old Mayeli Minda. 59.52 was her season and lifetime best going into it. 58.20 is the official time given to the Ukraine Yulia Shulia, so she will head through. Minda, in just over 1 minute, comes in second position, and it's the Pole Franchek, and just past that, who takes the automatic third position. But didn't the Ecuadorian get out to a very quick start there?
It was quick, and I love having the speedometer on the side that just shows she was reaching speeds at the beginning of up to 28 kilometers an hour. And we've really been treated in the past 2 days. We've seen several 400 meters on the track, and we've seen several different ways of running it. Some athletes prefer to go out really hard. Then we see some athletes that run more of an even-paced race, and they tend to really come into their own during the backstretch. And a lot of it is just about managing your own energy system. I don't think there's a perfect way to race it, but there certainly is a perfect way for your body, and that is part of the challenge of every 400-meter racer, figuring out what their physiology allows them to do.
It's a brutal race, the 400 metres, and it might look like quite an easy thing to do one lap of the track, but the 400 and 800 are two of those races where you really need to pace yourself, and the 400 you have to have a good finish on you, the 800 as well, but they're quite difficult at times to make sure you pace yourselves.
I've run a few 400 meters in my life. I'll let you just clean up the results.
Shulia in first position. Minda and Franchek go through. Lifetime best for Kira Mine, and Kerestesti, a season best for her, in sixth position.
I've run a few 400s in my life, and I think the hardest thing is standing on that starting line, knowing that no matter how hard you have trained, that last 100 meters will hurt. There is no way around it, and as you carry on and progress in your career, all that happens is that you just learn to handle more and more pain.
And when it gets to weather like this as well, it gives new meaning to feel the burn, because you feel it in your legs and on your body as well. So those athletes will be out of the sun and down to warm down and get some nice cool drinks into them. And as we continue the field sessions, the second heat of that women's 400 metres T20 intellectual impairment category. As you can see, they're moving into position, and we will have field that continues during the course of the morning, but the action on the track is starting to hot up indeed.
Considering how it is this morning, that would not be hard at all. Same story here, first three to go through. Track action is kicked off, and the field action as well. The F64 women's discus. This is Jana van der Merwe of South Africa. So we go into the second round. Now, Juan of China leads, 41.66. Faustina Kudlowska of Poland in second spot, 38.24. And Samantha Hayson of the United States, 35.06.
35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06. 35.06.
Just very quickly, Kira Mine, the 17-year-old from Belgium, in the opening heat of the women's 400 metres T20, disqualified for running out of her lane despite setting a lifetime best.
2 misses by Van der Merwe. And there are 11 in this. Remember, it's the usual cut-off point after 3 rounds, and if you haven't registered a mark there, you will be automatically eliminated. You remember the astonishing drama yesterday in 2 of the long jump finals. Leon Schaefer and Fleur Young, after 2 rounds, hadn't registered a mark. Both managed to get through with a 3rd round placing, which kept them in the competition, and they went on to win the gold. Retention for Schaefer. Fleur Young now has all the crowns, and a world record for Schaefer as well, 7:25, which is fabulous. Alero of Kenya sending that one out a bit further than the 22.87 she did in the opening round. Another couple of meters onto that, I reckon.
It's interesting there to compare actually the techniques of Alero versus Van der Merwe. You can see there that Alero chooses to go with a very stationary throw, whereas Van der Merwe from South Africa, she chose to use a rotation, and the rotation is actually really good for getting some velocity onto the discus before the release, but it does require a lot of balance and a lot of, which can be really difficult when you are a below knee impairment.
Priscu aiming for survival in this for Romania. She missed in the opening round. Van der Merwe having 2 attempts, which have both been red flagged. It's a standing start for her. And that's rolling out wide, and that's 2 misses for her as well. So she needs something over 20.5 meters in the next round. So that's happening over on the far side of the stadium, around the 200-meter mark. And we go all the way to the 400-meter mark, past the other shot put, which hasn't begun yet, the F40. F40 won the athletes of short stature, and F40 shorter stature than that. So we're all ready for this second heat of the women's 400 meters T20. That's the intellectual impairment category, and the reigning Para-Pan Am world Paralympic champion, championship record holder, world record holder is in this. There's not many more titles that Brianna Clark could hold. She's got an inside draw in this in lane 3. And if she takes this on the way she usually takes this on, she'll be seeing them inside her for a few seconds, and then for not much longer. From LA, gold in the last 2 Paralympic Games, in Rio and in Tokyo. The last 2 world titles in London and in Dubai as well. For Licenciela Angulo of Ecuador, it is her para championship debut. But in the Ecuadorian National Championship, silver in the 400 meters earlier this year. It's a championship debut for Nina Kano of Japan as well, at the age of 21. Karina Paim, the former European champion, silver for her last time out in Bydgoszcz in 2021. Alona Biakshi, the former European champion over 1500 meters. If you've been with us a few times, you'll recognize her and her twin sister Bernadette straight away. They were both joint flag bearer for the Paralympic Games in London. We skip past Franziska Jallis quite quickly. It's her championship debut as well from Bayer Leverkusen. But in the Virtus Games, another circuit, a couple of silvers in cross-country running last year. So it's Clark, Angulo, Kano, Paim, Jallis, Biakshi in the second heat of the women's 400 meters T20. It's a semi-final, effectively, in all but name. So away the first time of asking. Solid start, very solid start by Karina Paim, the former European champion from Lisbon. But Clark is now breezing, as she tends to do. Remember, the athletes in this will not have general tactical nuance. but when you've got her pace, you might not necessarily need it. She is well clear at halfway in this heat, in the morning heat. Look at that, it's a massive gap of over 10 meters with 100 to go for Brianna Clark. She's doing it all over again. Angelo, a fine, able-bodied 400 meters runner in her own right, is coming up in second spot. It's the top three who'll go through. It's about the top one right now. This is going to be very fast, close to the world record. 55.54. She's only a quarter of a second out. Pime in second, Angelo third. That is a championship record at 9:20 in the morning for Brianna Clark. Just like that. A season's best. 55.52 official. And to quote another commentator, she is firmly a member of the wider weight club. 58 seconds for Pime is more than respectable. That's fast for her. Anglo through as well with a lifetime best in third. But Brianna Clark has come within 0.34 of a world record that won her gold in Tokyo.
That was a brilliant run from Clark. And I suspect in a heat, she probably was pretty happy with her draw in lane 3, just because it gives you the advantage of having everybody else in your sight, see what everybody can do. I mean, to an extent, you get out and you run your own race, but also it just gives you the option of shutting down if you choose to at the end. But it definitely helps when you come from excellent sprinting pedigree. Her mom, Rosalind Clark, represented the USA, winning silver in the 4x4 at the 1976 Olympics. And I guess you always have that question when you're a sprinter. Is it all about the genes? Is it all about the training? And I suspect it's both, but it's definitely helpful to be gifted fast twitch muscle from your parents. You can see it always looks at the end like perhaps some athletes are slowing down and some athletes are accelerating, but in effect this is simply just a race to see who can slow down the least at this point and who can maintain their form.
Well, that's the global champion, Pan Am, World Paralympic, who's got a 3-second advantage over the former European champion, over the Colombian champion in athletics, full stop, in all athletics. And Brianna Clark just goes and does it again. Joachim Cruz, the 800-meter champion from LA, 84 in the Olympic Games, head of that coaching setup for the United States. Brianna Clark does it again, championship record, so close to a world record. She, Pime, Anglo, Cano will be in the final. Follow that. Absolutely beautiful morning, and it's one of the reasons why we have 9 a.m. starts here, which is an hour earlier than usual, just to avoid as much of the midday, early afternoon heat as possible. 6:30 starts in the evening if you're somewhere around Western Europe.
It is one of the unique challenges of athletics. For a lot of football games, you'll have a lovely afternoon start at 2 or 3 p.m. But typically, you will see early morning starts, sometimes quite late heats. You're running at times when often you're in your pajamas in bed, and it's just something that you have to adapt to.
Women's long jump T12 final is going to get underway shortly. Not scheduled until 9:38, so around 12 minutes time until that one gets underway. The medium visual impairment, the guides will be in operation in that one, and we'll have the larger of the takeoff boards. As you can see, the guide getting himself into position. That's for the Japanese athlete, Sawada Uran. And they're just warming up down there. And she is warming up in the stands.
For Norway, we'll be seeing Salem Kashafali very soon in the men's 100 metres T13 semi-finals. He's been in great record-breaking form of late.
Interesting day today. We've got the white tiger, Chad Paris, will be going up against him. We've also got the white cheetah, Timothy Adolphe.
So we saw Alero last time. She went out to 25.79, and this needs to be an improvement in this women's discus F64. Only needs to be 7 centimeters longer. So the pressure is definitely on. She's thrown out to 26.32 this season. Something like that will do very nicely for her. Needs to get beyond that 25-meter line. I'm not sure she has done. And that will be the end of the competition for Sylvia Alero for Kenya.
To throw during this final, representing Turkey, Metz Kilich.
Well, that's the thing about this sport. This is the big championship of the year. Obviously, we've got the African Games coming up later on, but 24.66, and that's her last throw of the competition. The top 8 to progress to the second half of this discus final. That's one of the unseen things, obviously, with para-athletics particularly. You have your one big championship of the year. There are a few para-events which are held at Diamond League meetings, but not inside the Diamond League window, so not part of the 2 hours that's generally distributed, unless your channel decides to go longer hours. Now, Risku needs over 25. That won't be it, but hopefully she's got a mark. That may well help with a little bit of funding, just so long as that's not a third foul, so that she will at least get an official placement. I remember working quite a few times with John Trower, very good athletics commentator who Steve Backley's coach back in his heyday in the 90s. 17.04, so that has her in 11th place, but at least she has an official placing. He was always very interested in who would be a spinny and the different distribution methods. So Sarah Edmiston here of Australia, she's got a great chance of a medal today. 32.93, she's 2:10 off the medals. That's heading beyond 35.
It seems better for side Mason.
We're going to get a really great shot here of just the way that she uses the speed that you generate with that turn. I mean, we saw the velocity of the athletes when they're running in the 400 meters, and sometimes I wish that we had a measurement for the velocity as they spin. And the whole idea is that you can get more out of the discus when you release it if it's already moving.
She's up to bronze for Australia, 35.11 by 5 centimeters clear of Hayesen. Bronze in the discus in this in Tokyo. Silver and bronze in the last 2 World Championships, and silver in Birmingham last year. Pressure now for Regina Edward of Papua New Guinea. Needs 25.86 to reach the second half of the competition. But even a lifetime best would be nice. 22.5 would do that for her. That's sailed to the left and wide, so that will go down as a no throw. And Edward finishes in 10th position. I remember bumping into one of the Papua New Guinea coaches, of all places, at the Great Wall around the 2015 World Athletics Championships in Beijing. They've tended to import quite a number of coaches, some from Britain, some from Australia. It's a big job. It's good effort. Getting athletes qualified for many nations in one case is what it's all about.
Our one track final of the morning session, the men's 400 metres T36 final. James Turner of Australia, world and championship record holder. He will go in this in lane 4. Bafilwi Mosafan of South Africa, 19 years of age. his first major championship, a lifetime best set this year of 58.86 seconds in lane 1. Outside in lane 2, Marion Petria, his second major championship, his first one in Dubai back in 2019. Will be looking to improve on his season best time. The only one of the athletes competing in this race who doesn't go sub 1 minute. This man does, William Stedman. Lifetime best of 53.55, his season best just outside that for the man who took bronze in 2016, 19 and at the recent Paralympics in 2020. James Turner, the former para-footballer, came onto the scene in 2016 when he won 800 metres gold in the Rio Paralympics, 2, 4 and 800 gold in 2017 in London, 2019 1 and 400. He's the Paralympic and world champion, having won the 400 in Tokyo 2020. Krzysztof Szyszka, the former European champion from 2018 from Poland, will go in lane 5. Alex Chavez of Argentina in lane 6. Took a bronze in the 100 metres at the Tokyo Paralympic Games. And the man who won gold over 100 metres at those Tokyo Paralympics was this man, Deng Paicheng of China. Lifetime best this year of 59.69. And in the outside lane, in lane 8, it's Matsumoto Takeru of Japan. Third in his heat, qualifying through to this final. He was 7th in the final in his home country in Tokyo 2020. So there's our field. The world record set as a championship record as well by James Turner in Dubai of 51.71 4 years ago. And this has the feeling of a quick race. This, of course, T36, coordination impairment. Now, some of the athletes will tighten up as it comes into the last 150 metres or so. You will notice that happening. Away at the first time of asking, and as always, Turner gets away very quickly indeed. He's already up on the inside of Szyszka. He's gone past Chavez, and he has Deng in his sights, and Matsumoto will be next. But William Stedman has got a very good rhythm himself, New Zealander, in lane 3, and is working his way up well. So they come into half of the lap remaining, 200 down, 200 to go, and it is James Turner with 150 who really stretches out, and this is going to be the time where you may see some of the athletes tighten up as they come into the home straight. It's Turner who leads from Stedman. On the outside, it's Matsumoto of Japan, but it's a 2-horse race at the moment. It's James Turner, Stedman trying to work him down. World record of 51.71. Turner's going to take it. He's going to be outside that mark. Stedman in second, and coming through in third place, it's Chavez of Argentina. 52.27 the time for James Turner, who retains his World Championship gold in the men's 400 metres T36 category. Well, he led the whole way. He got out to a fast start. He went straight past those 4 athletes on the outside of him. And at the 200-metre mark, it was down to 2. Matsumoto was looking all right for bronze on the outside, but that man picked it up eventually. Chavez of Argentina with a very strong finish indeed. It was an Oceania double with Turner of Australia and Stedman of New Zealand who are battling it out. But just look at Turner when he gets away to that quick start, Steph Reed.
I was so excited for this final because yesterday we did see Turner get off to the same blistering start. That is just his style. He powers out. But what he did yesterday was he shut it down on the home straight. And so we never really got to see just how quick he can go. And I'm noticing quite a lot. We've got lots of athletes that are coming over from a football background. And actually, football is a sport where you are constantly running. You're doing these almost shuttle sprints, so you're running fast, stopping, and you can see just how well conditioned that James has become of that, and just what a fantastic base that's given him for both sprinting and endurance.
Well, the New Zealanders are happy as well because Stedman's picked up a silver medal. But yeah, it's an interesting story about that man there on the left, James Turner. He was a para-footballer. They failed to qualify for the 2016 Rio Games. He took up running. He won an 800-metre gold in Rio, and since then he has gone on to win another 6 golds, make that another 7 now, because that was an outstanding performance. So a gold medal, Australia's second of these games. Maria Strong in the frame running a couple of days ago, picking one up, and now on the only final in the morning session, it's James Turner of Australia who picks up the second gold for the Australians. A season best time of 52.26. Stedman a season best for him, just behind in second in the silver medal. And Chavez, a new America's record, picking up a time of 54.57 and a bronze medal to boot.
So that's the one morning track final. 4 field events to be decided this morning, including the women's long jump T12. This is the category of medium visual impairment, so a maximum of 5% vision down to 1%. Oksana Subkovska with the world record from London 2012, the championship record.
Ladies and gentlemen, the women's long jump T12.
One of those celebrating its 10-year anniversary from Lyon 2013, the last championships to be held in France at the Stade de Rhône. Lille held it in 2002. It was officially under the name of Villeneuve due to maybe council funding. Here's Emin Avsar for Turkey, who's gone out to 4:50 this season. That a lifetime best. Alongside her from Finland, Ida Lunela. 5:19, her lifetime best set this year.
She was the bronze medalist of the last Paralympic Games, representing Japan, Sawada Uran.
Sawada Uran. They've reverted back after 60 years to surname first. Sara Fernandez Roldan, who normally we see right up at the head of affairs, not the only one for Spain
representing Chinese
in terms of this competition. For Chinese Taipei, Wang Taichuan, a 4:30-year lifetime best from this year. So now, having finished second behind Oksana Subkovska 2 years ago, Sara Martinez, the silver medalist in Tokyo.
Representing Ukraine. She's the world
And here is the reigning Paralympic champion.
4-time Paralympic champion.
Aiming for her 11th global crown, 6-time world, 4-time Paralympic champion, the world record holder, Oksana Subkovska. But a woman with a plethora of sprint and long jump medals to her own name, Katrin Müller-Rothgart for Germany. And to round off, the nation that's won more medals than anyone else so far this week, for Uzbekistan, Yukotkon Kol Bekova.
Long jump T12, first athlete to champ, representing Turkey.
So decent field.
Half charge.
Pretty much anybody who is anybody is largely here. And we have not, by the way, had one way or another over 2.0. It hasn't been a strong headwind or trail wind in any case today. It's 1.1 at the moment. So it's calm and serene.
Du para-athlétisme est prêt à vous offrir une love cam. Alors j'espère que vous aussi, vous êtes prêts à donner de
In the long jump, the ideal is to have a plus 2.0 tailwind behind you because it gives you a little bit of extra kick while still keeping the jump legal.
Coucou! Show us some love!
So that's going to get underway in the next couple of minutes. We'll keep you well on course with that, but there's track action to come as well.
Vous êtes au top. Allez, encore un petit peu. Send them some love, as much love as possible.
So the men's 100 meters T13. This was Jason Smith's old category. 21 titles, 21 wins out of 21. He's still the championship record holder, but no longer the world record holder because Salam Kashafali claimed that. He's been recategorized from a T12 to a T13. He was considered to have had slightly deteriorating eyesight for a little while. That's been recorrected though, just like what happened to Jason Smith, who went from T13 to T12 for about a year and protested against it, was put back up. We'll see Kashafali in the next heat, but in this we've got the 400 meters champion from the last Paralympic Games. So just to introduce the 8 to you, this is the Pan Am champion over 400 meters, Buenda Bermudez of Colombia, 11:34. In lane 2 for Uzbekistan, he was 6th in the 400 final last time out, the last World Championships in Dubai. This is Donioran Akhmedov.
Lane 3 representing Norway.
In lane 3 for Norway, he's been in the final of the last 2 European Championships, 7th as best finish for Norway, Vegard Dragsund Sved. In 4 for Brazil, championship debut on a global basis for Samuel Eckert de Souza.
Lane 5 representing Algeria.
In lane 5 for Algeria, the Paralympic 400-meter champion, and edged out by the slight distraction by Jason Smith in the 100 final in Tokyo, Skandar Atmani. That was a world record in the 400 too. In lane 6 for Brazil, 10:77 is best, which is decent going for Fabrizio Barros. And in lane 7 and 8, 2 athletes yet to break 11 seconds. Winston Ikuwu Smith for Spain. He's in 7th. And in lane 8 for Thailand, it's Jacqueline Damane. 11:01 is lifetime best set this year.
Pay attention to the start. It's the first heat of the run 1 of the men's 100 meters.
So it's the top 3 to qualify for the final, plus the next 2 fastest. Atmani in 5, Eckert in 4. Damane actually with a very good time in lane 8 in his own right. And Bermudez, the Pan Am 400 champion. Just a slight reset for Eckert. So Bermudez in 1, Akhmedov 2, Sved in 3, Eckert de Souza 4, Atmani 5, Barros 6, Ikuwu Smith 7, and Damane in lane 8. Away first time, solid start by Akhmedov of Uzbekistan in lane 2. Atmani beginning to make his class show here. And how Sved is looking good also. Atmani 10:85. He goes through. Barros and Sved up there as well. But Skandar Atmani, who's worth pointing out in the African Athletics Championships, has medalled for Algeria a couple of times. He goes through 10:85. Nice performance too, must say, by Vegard Sved of Norway. He's into the final without any doubt at all. Fabrizio Barros came to the fore good in the last 30 as well. That's a good result. Well, Norway will have won in the final. Surely they'll have too. We'll have to wait for that. But at Mani, when he came from 30-40 onwards, stamped his class on it again.
Several of the athletes had really great starts. You could almost draw a line across them. They were driving really hard. But the difference here is that Athmani was the only one who continued to accelerate through to the 60-70 meter mark, and that's when he really started separating himself.
And the athletes of the national team of
This is the
Thailand.
T11 class, so it is the highest of the visual impairments, and often it's quite deceptive because they are able to, you almost wouldn't notice. For example, they can see enough, but they wouldn't be able to drive a car, and sometimes you might, it's hard to think about the impact that has on your running, and you have the obvious things which are staying in your lane and seeing your competitors, but there's also the not so obvious. Vision plays a huge part in our balance and proprioceptive systems, and we adjust our movements based on feedback from our eyes. And this is just one of the additional things I have to work on, including the speed and the power and the technique.
So Skanda at Mani, who came very close to doing the 100-400 double in Tokyo. He is into the T13 100 meters final, 10:85 for him. Barros, Daminet also through. Well, visually I thought Sverd had got third, to be honest with you, but that's a decent time. But Sverd now has to wait. Daminet is in the final.
Women's discus throw, F64 final. This the fifth attempt of Dallas Harris, 28:49, her best. That was a season best. Her fourth attempt. She's in 7th position. Moving into the final 3 of throws. This is her penultimate one, so she has some work to do to move up into the medals. Has to find about 8 meters, and that is going to be a very hard thing to do. Doesn't improve. 26:67 with her 5th, so she remains in 7th position.
16 Gara Naya for Team Iraq.
Yao of China at the top there, 41:66, a season best for her. That with her opener. Van der Merwe of South Africa with a best so far of 28:33. That one was with her 4th throw. This is her 5th.
The mark for Gara Nayash for Team Iraq. 11 medals.
Van der Merwe's lifetime best is 31:66, so she's going to have to go well past that,
His own championship record,
which was set this year to move up into the places. So we're halfway through the, or thereabouts, with the final 8 throwers. So 27:06, no improvement there. 28:33. Van der Merwe remains in 8th position. From Ottaway of Great Britain, 32:79, a lifetime best with her opening throw.
That is a great championship debut for Funmi of Great Britain. And once again, we saw a really great example of what some high-quality throwing technique looks like. Again, really using that motion to get as much speed and velocity on that discus before you release it. We tend to think of throwers as just being really strong and powerful, but actually they have to be really quick as well. It's just that in this case, the speed is generated on the circle as opposed to in a straight line, as we would see with running.
Well, that one went down as a foul, so Ottaway remains in 6th position in the women's discus throw F64, but it's time for the second heat in the men's 100 meters T13. This one containing Salam Kashafali, who holds the world record, the Norwegian, of 10:37 in this category, set just last month in Oslo, in his home country. And Chad Paris, well, he saw the back of Jason Smith, did Paris, and he picked up a few bronzes, 5th in the last Paralympics, and all of a sudden, Salam Kashafali comes along. And you've got him to contend with. Paris, 3 in there from the near side for Australia.
The second heat of the men's 100 meters T13.
So 8 to go in this one.
3 will move to the final, and
Plenty of experience as well as youth.
Lane 1, representing Spain, Joan Sierra Molina.
So Joan Sierra Molina, 17 years of age. He's ready to go. 11:36, his lifetime best, set this year. Carlo Andrade.
Lane 3, representing Australia.
Competed in the high jump
in
2017.
Paralympic Games bronze medalist.
Chad Paris, bronze in 2015 and 17.
65.
Silver in 2019 for the White Tiger. He was 5th in the last Paralympic Games. Philip Handler, silver in the European Championships back in 2012, bronze in 14. We'll go from lane 4. Axel Zorzi of France. You can hear the roar from the home crowd for him. Only made the heats in the last 2 World Championships. This man, though, knows about winning. Salam Kashafali, gold in 2019, 20 at the Paralympics, and 21 those in the T12 category, recategorized into T13 for these championships.
Max Martilia.
Max Martilia, 21 years of age. His first major championships for the German, a lifetime best of 11:06. He'll need to beat that one here. And Johannes Nambala, silver in Rio in 2016, also medaled at major championships over 200 and 400.
100 meters T13.
So as per the previous heat, the 3 fastest will go through. Then we'll be looking for the 2 best times to qualify through to the final after that. So Kashafali, who we just saw, Paris in screen there, the 2 to be looking out for. No Jason Smith. It's the time of someone new. And they get away at the first time of asking, and Kashafali got through very fast indeed. And inside him, it is Alex Zorzi. Paris coming through as well. Paris is going to take second, but it's Kashafali in a time of 10:74. So it's outside his championship record of Jason Smith, outside the world record of Kashafali. But that was a quick run in a heat. Paris came through to take second place. But that start from Kashafali was rather good. That first 20 or 30 metres, he exploded out of the blocks in 10:74, a confirmation of that time. Paris in 11:04 qualifying in second position as well. Good running from him, finished very strong, and it was the Frenchman Axel Zorzi, who the crowd were roaring on, who takes the 3rd automatic qualification place at 11.11.
I mean, you said his start was good. His start is excellent, and equally excellent is his top-end speed. We just see him pulling away from the crowd. Actually, we can hear the crowd cheering on our French athlete, hoping he's going to get into the final. But the thing about his sprinting, it's just, it's an exhibition in power and rhythm.
It's that the explosiveness out of the blocks there from Kashafali, and every time we've seen him run all the way going back to 2019 when he burst onto the scene, it's something to behold. And he has been reclassified, but he does exactly the same thing. Now that is a good 3 or 4 metres. Paris has pulled up at the end there. Home favourite Zorzi going through, but Kashafali, it's going to be very hard to see anyone beating him in the final. It would have been really interesting to see him going up against Jason Smith in his prime, but the 2 of those athletes. But as it is, it's Kashafali who takes the victory, the world record holder in the T13 category. He'll be looking to pick up a gold medal. Nambala in 4th place has also gone through as one of the fastest qualifiers as well. But Kashafali of Norway is going to be hard to beat in that final. Confirmation of it, 10.74. Paris in second with 11.04. Zorzi takes third in the automatic qualification. And Johannes Nambala of Namibia takes fourth position in a time of 11.20 and qualifies for the final.
Voit la qualification et on va pouvoir applaudir Axel Zorzi, le Français, qui se qualifie.
It's definitely game on in the T13. Jason Smith announcing his retirement a few months ago. It was great to see so many tributes coming in to him, and every time he had a success it was front page news back home. I can definitely guarantee him that from the Tokyo Paralympic Games. So Zubkovska, the reigning Paralympic champion, leads this women's long jump in the opening exchanges. 5.27, her best leap of the year. Sawada of Japan in second place, 5.03. Lunella in third spot for Finland, 4.99. But there have been quite a few misses in this opening round. Kolbekova of Uzbekistan are having an absolutely brilliant championships. They've done some talent spotting the last couple of years. Oh, I think she's overshot that. That'll be a red flag for her. It's the medium category of visual impairment here, so they've got the wide chalk outline, and it's from the takeoff point to the landing, which is measured. She's looking for chalk dust, but she actually overshot it, so that was a very obvious red flag.
So on the track, the modification for these athletes is that they'll be running with their guides, which we've seen. And I suppose it would be very interesting to see a guided long jump, but in this case the modification is that you have the guide, which will often set them up, and they've also extended the takeoff board. So instead of a 20-centimeter board, you now have a 1 meter board, which has helped with that sighting. But even with that additional distance, it still can be a challenge to ensure that you're jumping behind the foul line, which is essential, because if it's not behind the board, then you don't get a measurement.
Yeah, she just took off beyond. Talent spotting they've done has been immense. The throwing events, yes, but also the power sports as well. They held the World Weightlifting Championships a couple of years ago, and it's something big a few months ago as well, and they're one of the leading lights in powerlifting. Aysar of Turkey, that'll be okay. There was chalk dust, there was sand, and everything else in between was just perfect. You can disregard the markers on the side because they're measuring from point to point, but that has her on the board. That'll have her happy.
When it comes to long jump, one of the most important things is how much speed you can generate on that runway, because even if you have beautiful technique, if you don't have the speed to back it up, then you're not going to go very far. And what you can see there, every athlete will have a different variation of what they do in the air, with the guiding principle just being do whatever it takes to maintain your balance, because you really want to make sure that the mark you make in the sand isn't because either you're falling backward or just a loose limb that happens to graze the sand, because that is where they'll measure from.
Would you have, just in as a bit of a hitch kick in the air, would you recommend that she maybe went with 2 feet though?
Say that again, sir?
Would you recommend she maybe went with 2 feet, because you'd probably get another half a metre or so? Because it's just where her lead foot has come down, then it's just come down, seems to have, almost as if she's run through and not done the actual jump, it's trying to get a bit further.
You're right. The hitch kick is actually, it's a great technique, because again, it just helps balance you in the air, but you have to time it perfectly, and you have to make sure as that foot is cycling around, it's in the right spot. And again, that is one of the challenges when you perhaps aren't able to sight that pit as well as you'd like to.
So Emin Avsar of Turkey, 6th place, 3 meters 83. Lunella in the bronze medal position with 4.99. 5.19 a lifetime best this year. Looking to get that takeoff right. Counted through her steps by her guide. Well, she has potential there. She's only 4 centimeters away off silver at the moment.
It was interesting there to hear her partnership with her guide, because there are several ways to mark a runway. One is by sight, but you could hear her guide there just counting it out for her and letting her know the point at which she needs to take off.
The first attempt will be
So this is an example of a more simple hang technique, which again, just as effective. And you can see as she slides through, she makes sure her imprint is where her feet went in.
Well, 4.99, men third, 5.13 now means second. She goes above Sawada of Japan. And she's in the silver medal position. She's very close to a lifetime best of 5.19 set this year. So now let's give you a little tour of the Stade Charlotte, this famous old venue these days, a Ligue 2 ground in football for Paris FC. It's been the former home of Stade Francais. So of the commentary team of 3, 2 have competed here. You can try and work out who the odd one out is. First season of Super League, Tolson.
Exactly. I played rugby league here in 1996 and 1997. On Bastille Day, actually, in 97.
So the women's 200 metres T13 for the heats. In a word, did the Broncos win here?
We won one and lost one. 50%. It's not too bad, is it? Toss of a coin.
1 out of 2 ain't bad. And 3 out of 5 will be very good in this 200 heat. What drama last night in the 100 metres final when Adi Iglesias was edged out by fractions by Lamaya Valayeva of Azerbaijan. I see a lot of you are still tweeting that race this morning. Erin Kerkhoff, 6th in the 100 metres here in her first World Championships from Rochester and Minnesota. A lot of you stayed up late for that, I hope. Nanitine Keita of France, one of the greats, the former world 400 metres champion, the former Paralympic 400 champion. Adi Iglesias, silver here in the 100, the reigning European and Paralympic 100 metres champion. Celia Terki, who finished in 6th place in the European final in Bydgoszcz 2 years ago. And in lane 7 for Costa Rica in her first World Championships, heats of the 1 and the 4 in Tokyo in the Paralympic Games, 8th in the 100 final last night. Melissa Calvo. So Erin Kerkhoff of the United States, now based in Iowa, and she was the WAMAC Conference 400 champion, able-bodied. T13, the category of least visual impairment. Top 3 to make their way through. Kerkhoff, Keita, Iglesias, Terki, and Calvo, the 5 in this. So way in the shade at the Stade Charlotte, and now out into the baking sun. What a start this is. Iglesias going brilliantly, Keita too. Spain and France, 5 and 4. Adi Iglesias has a big point to make from last night, having been edged out by thousands of a second in the 100 final. Iglesias will take this, 25-1-5. Kerkhoff and Keita are also through. Job done. Very quick turnaround, only 15 hours between the 100 final and the 200 heats this morning. And Adriatu Iglesias, very good victory. Keita likewise in 3rd as they meet again.
It has been a really busy few days for these women, especially ones who competed in the 100 meters. They had the heats on the 9th, the final last night, the 200 this morning. And we've actually been staying, Tulson and I, in the same hotel as Adi Iglesias. And it's been fascinating to watch her just before the races. She's often just been with her team, having a casual cup of coffee, just chatting. You would never guess that she was about to go and contest a world final in a few hours' time, but this is part of the game. You have to know how to recover and manage yourself. She's charging out there just as hard as she did yesterday. These races are not just about the less than 30 seconds they're spending on the track. It's almost a whole day commitment. You get up 4 hours beforehand, you're having your breakfast, you have to go through your whole warm-up, which can sometimes take an hour. You finish, you cool down, you see the physio, and you get ready for the next race, the next final. And you can see Addie there. She knows what she's doing. She's shutting it down early. She's already secured her qualification spot. Just behind her, Kirchhoff has run an excellent time to qualify, along with Kita. Addie there, just smooth and relaxed, crossing the line. Job done.
Same story for Kirchhoff and Nanitin Caters. As we've told you many times before, she's from a very historic family in terms of African statehood. She's through, Iglesias through, Kirchhoff as well, and Celia Turkey as well is through to the world final. And we will be seeing them very soon.
Long jump continues in the distance. Women's T12.
Donc n'hésitez pas à aller dessus. Vous aurez bien évidemment aussi toutes les informations, les actus, la quotidienne, le programme, les résultats, les infos pratiques et l'audio description aussi.
Sarah Martinez gets ready to hit the pit. Hasn't got a mark yet after her first one was a foul.
Usually on the podium in terms of the sprints and this long jump in the Europeans.
So the silver medalist in Tokyo trying to take the pressure off by getting herself a mark and getting herself up that leaderboard. Well, she's got a mark. No issues with the jump off the board. And she'll find herself higher than where she is at the moment. If you've got a foul in your first and you're going for your second, how much pressure is there on you to make sure you get a mark in that one, because you don't want to be leaving as number 3?
Yeah, the position as a long jumper you never want to find yourself in is in the third round with 2 fouls. And in this case, we have 9 women in the final. Only 8 will go through to get the remaining 3 jumps. And if you're going into the third round and you know in the back of your mind that you don't have confidence in your runway, all you're thinking about is hitting the runway, which means you're not putting the effort into getting the big jump that you need. And she finished that jump, and I think she was happy she had a mark, but possibly not as happy with that distance. She knows that.
Well, she has a season best, 4.98. It takes her up into 4th position. So the mark is there. There's plenty to work on. There's potentially another 4 jumps to come for Martinez.
Subkovska, who is the queen of this discipline right now. Sarah Martinez, by the way, Athens 04 was her Paralympic Games debut. Subkovska got the takeoff absolutely right. The only way is up. But once you hit top spot, there's nowhere else you can go. 5:27 by her standards of years past. Somewhat conservative. She's already had a season's best. Her world record from 11 years ago is beyond 6.5, and that was a fantastic victory for her then. And she's feeling in high form again this morning.
That is a beautiful example of how to use what I would call the running man, where it looks like you're continuing to run on air, but she finishes the action with both heels, both feet right out in front of her, which means that as she touches the sand, her body almost folds like an accordion, which again just means that she's not losing any distance on that landing.
5:66, almost half a meter of an improvement, and a lead that becomes even more unassailable. And you'll note that Lunela and Sawada now both tied on 5:13. Sawada's second longest effort was superior. So Sawada in the silver medal position, Lunella bronze, but Sukovska is way out in front right now. Katrin Muller-Rotka, well, she should have a separate room for all the medals she's picked up in her career. But lying in 5th spot right now, 4.76. She's gone out to 5.05 this season. You look at Sara Martinez, who picked up silver in this in Tokyo, but she's 4th. Muller-Rotka is 5th. Fernandez 6th for Spain. Good takeoff that time, right in the chalk. Again, her sight is sufficient that she doesn't need a guide.
It's been interesting. The past 2 competitors have been asking for the clap, and you can sense there's actually a little bit of hesitation in the audience, because we did see the T11 competition yesterday where they need the audience to be absolutely silent so that they can use it as a honing mechanism also.
It's difficult as well because the sign down where the 100-meter mark starts comes up with a big shh. So if that comes up, they're trying to help the athletes, they think, but then the athletes are wanting the clap. So, yeah, a bit of a contrast.
You can tell they're a little bit confused, not quite sure what they want to do. They want to honor the athlete and yet obey the sign as well.
4.91, she stays in 5th position. With Mishkuk, the coach this time. Steffi Nereus for a long time was the field events coach for Germany, the former javelin world champ from 09.
Second heat of the women's 200 metres T13, the least of the visual impairment categories.
200 meters T13.
All 4 runners without a guide in this one.
In each heat will advance to the final, and the next 2 fastest.
Bit of home interest as well.
Représentant la France au couloir numéro 3,
With this
Alice Mété.
22-year-old, her first major championships. Alice Mété of France. Lifetime best of 27.18. Ryan Suarez da Silva, who was 5th in the 100 metres here at these championships already. Silver medalist in this event in 2019 at the Worlds. And a lady who's picked up a bronze here in the 100 already. Canada's Bianca Borghella, her first major champs for the 20-year-old, already has a bronze medal. Candela Cerudo of Argentina, she was 7th in that 100 metres final. So 3 go through, and the fastest qualifiers across those 2 heats. Be interesting to see how Borghella goes in the 200, having bronzed in the 100. So 2 of these athletes in Suarez da Silva and Borghella, lifetime best in the 25-second region. The other 2 up over 27. And they get away fine indeed. And it's Borghella of Canada who's run that first 50 or 60 metres very quickly. And Suarez da Silva up on the inside of her. They round into the home straight. There's Borghella who's out in front, looking very solid indeed and really doing it calmly. Suarez da Silva in 2nd position, and Alice Mété is going to come across and take 3rd. 25.33 is the time from Borghella, and she looks as though she's got a bit left in the tank. Aside from that, did it really smoothly indeed. It was the first 50 or 60 metres where she really went for it. Got out to a good lead, just held her form as she came down the final 100 metres. Mété there in vision, picked up 3rd place. 25.32 the time for Borghella. Suarez da Silva, 26.31 for her. And Mété in a lifetime best of 26.81 for her. But Borghella, in that opening 50 metres or so, got out off the blocks really quickly.
It was a great start from Borghella, and there are some important differences between the 100 and the 200. With the 200, you have that obvious element of speed endurance, but there's actually quite a skill to running a bend well. athletes will sometimes talk about the slingshot effect, which is what you'll feel right there as you're coming around the corner. If you run it well, you start running on a curve, leaning into it, and then you straighten up, and sometimes you get this almost burst of acceleration. And learning how to do that well really can maximize your time.
How important is it using your outside arm as you're coming around that bend?
You're right. You actually end up, just because we always run around a track in the same direction, and so you have to use your arms with a little bit more domination from the right side. And so, like I say, it is a very different skill from just running in a straight line.
Well, that lady learnt the skill very well indeed. Still so young, at 20 years of age, at her first major championships. She has a bronze medal in the 100 already. She now has the opportunity to get one in the 200 metres. Borgella goes through along with Suarez de Silva, lifetime best for Alice Matei, and also a lifetime best qualifying for Candela Cerrudo of Argentina. 27.08 for her.
This is Sawada of Japan as we go back to the T12 long jump. Now down in third position. Kolbakova has come out with a very impressive 5:43 to wrap out the second round. This is round 3 now. Sawada ahead on back of Lunella. They've both gone out to 5:13. Sawada adding a 5:03 to that. And for Lunella, 5 meters dead. So Sawada's already come out to a season's best. Can she add to it? Slight bit of chalk dust there. That was okay. She took off right on the far side of the chalk. So I don't think she's given away any centimetres there. Would have wished a little bit further from her reaction. A couple of important points. They always try and walk out in advance, just to what was being said a few minutes earlier. Don't walk backwards, because then that'll shorten your jump, and make sure your hair is tied up, because that cost, I think it was Ivana Spanovic, the gold in 2011 at the World Athletics Championships in Daegu.
She had a great runway, Sawada. The one thing I noticed is about 2 to 3 strides beforehand, she was slowing down just a little bit, probably preparing for your jump. But the problem there is that you're losing all that wonderful speed that you have just built up.
And that'll be 4:84, and it's not an improvement. Sawada remains in the bronze medal position.
We have a new championship record for the moment, 18 meters 49. Rashid Masjidi for the Islamic Republic of Iran.
I do wonder if Zabkovska and Maryarova trained together. We saw her compatriot Asila Mirzayarova win in the T11 with a 5:13, and we're noticing these pockets of talent within countries that are really specializing in certain events.
Well, Sarah Fernandez really needs a pick-me-up here. She is in 7th spot, 4:62. There's no fear of her not making the final 8 attempts. We're looking to shoot up to 5 meters if possible. 5:01 is her lifetime best. She's quite close to her season's best. As I was saying before, there's obviously a handful of Grand Prix events that are held during the year. Dubai is annual. Zalapa had one in Mexico earlier in the year, and Tunis. Not always broadcast, of course. So I know some athletes are annoyed about the profile. It feels that it goes up and down, and that for a lot of them, some of them will say it's every 4 years that a certain proportion of the public take notice, but hopefully enough do to follow the news and the results.
I think one of the toughest things is only having that competition a few times a year, or maybe once every 2 years, and I think perhaps that's why we're seeing a lot of these 1-2 placings in countries where you're getting competition from within your country, and because you're having to compete at the highest level so often, it really is pushing that event on.
So for Chinese Taipei, this is Wang Kai-Swan, 3:64. So if you can get an extra 26 meters, 26 centimeters, then that would keep her in.
don't know if you realize it, Will, but you have just told off world record holder Martina Caironi for being in your way watching the long jump.
So 4:30, your lifetime best from this year. Only had eyes for Wang, I'm afraid. Had that great 3 in a row for Italy, the great treble you remember of the 100 meters right at the end of the Paralympic Games in Tokyo.
That really was the iconic photo of the game.
364, Wang in 9th, misses out. But when Wang is sitting up here blocking Caironi, then
The long jump.
she'll get the same.
Third attempt. Well, Team Spain, Sarah Martinez.
So here we go, the men's 400 T11. And we have as strong a field as you can get, really. Champions right across the board. Including the reigning Paralympic champion. So the man who's listed here is Daniel Mendes, but regularly known as Daniel Silva, actually the world record holder. He is in this. He'll be in lane 1, but Descarrega, the
4.98
reigning Paralympic champion, is in this as well. Silva, who has been a
It's a white flag.
Paralympic champion previously. Silva, the reigning Pan Am champion right now. Basically, it's as stacked a heat as you can get. We are going to lose a big name out of this race.
Ladies and gentlemen, the men's 400 meters T11 semifinals. The first
fastest in this heat this year is Descarrega, 51.25.
will advance to the final, and the next two fastest.
Qualification pour la finale. Le vainqueur plus les
Already seen them elsewhere this week. Shinongo in his own right is such a belting athlete on whom there has been such attention. We can say that about all 4 in this.
Daniel Mendes.
So Daniel Mendes, or Daniel Silva, in lane 1, the reigning Pan Am champion still for the 2nd time, an 8-time world championship medalist, twice the 400 meters world champion. Nania Shikongo is in lane 3, so there's been a redraw, I notice here, for Namibia.
Couloir 3 représentant la Namibie, Ananias Shikongo.
Couloir numéro 5,
Lane 5 is Descarrega of Spain, the reigning Paralympic champion. He is in lane 5.
Couloir 7 représentant le Brésil, Felipe de Souza Gomez.
And in lane 7 for Brazil is Felipe de Souza Gomez, who has been drafted into this heat.
Pay attention to the start. The first semi-final of the men's.
So we've got the 3 medalists from
11.
the Paralympic Games in this. Silva in 1, Chikongo 3, Descarrega 5, Felipe de Sousa Gomez in 7. Only the winner to go through. The only thing that's guaranteed out of this. De Sousa had been originally drawn in the middle lane in semi-final 2. Third in the last World Championships in 2019. Already seen them in the heats of this yesterday. So Silva in 1, Chikongo 3, Descarrega 5, and Felipe de Sousa Gomez, he is in lane 7. So they've all won major championship medals either in Dubai or last time out in Tokyo. They'll be grateful for the shade of the back straight. Descarrega going very well in lane 5 right now, up with Felipe de Sousa Gomez of Brazil in 7. Descarrega fastest in this field, 51.25 this year, the fastest lifetime best because of the longest careers by Silva Mendes. So there should be a good showing of him in the final straight. Going well is Descarrega in 5 still. Felipe de Sousa in 7 close behind, looking for a fast time, still looking for a win in this, but Descarrega's dominated it. He'll cross the line first. De Sousa Gomez in 2nd, Chikongo in 3rd, and Daniel Silva Mendes, the former Paralympic champion, the twice world champion, the reigning Pan Am champion, is out at the semi-final stage. Descarrega controlled that all the way through. Felipe de Sousa Gomez still has a sporting chance of making it. Chikongo is not officially out, but he is hanging on. But from start to finish, the ace Spaniard was in good control.
One of the difficult things for these semi-finals for the men's 400 T11 is that you don't have the luxury through the heats, through the semis, to take it easy and take it at leisure, because only the top athlete is guaranteed a place in the final. So you have to go hard from the start, and in effect you have to almost treat every single round as a final, and that is one of the challenges of navigating your way through these rounds. And actually, it is worth noting we got caught a little bit off guard up here because our lane assignments didn't match what we had on our paper, and noticing now there's actually a notice on it saying that it's correct as of 1 o'clock yesterday. And there actually are quite extensive guidelines around how lanes are assigned and heats are seeded, and it does make a difference. Placement in the lanes does matter, and so if anyone did notice an error or needed a correction, then that would have been done just to ensure that it was fair for all athletes throughout the stages.
Well, there was no worries against Descarrega. He was taking on all comers, and he's beaten them all this morning. 50.97.
You can just see there Descarrega took off both his eye mask and also 2 pieces of what looked like gauze, and that is one of the requirements for T11.
So Descarrega takes it 50.97. He's through. Felipe de Sousa and Ananias Chikongo both have to wait.
There's a lot that goes on in the call room ahead of the T11 races. The officials have to check both their eye masks and their gauze. They have to make sure that absolutely no light is getting in, and just being convinced that there are absolutely no visual cues. And they're also checking the tethers. Again, both are heavily regulated, and if you look out for it, I'm sure we'll see a few more pictures of the way that the guides and the athletes are connected in the next semi-final.
Well, basketball is massive here. Top draft pick in the NBA this year is French.
The current 2nd place for Uzbekistan.
Well followed. Champions of the future are fans of the present at the very least.
And the 3rd place.
Knew I left something at home this morning.
Sawada Uran, 5 meters 13. But we have a tie with
But we'll all be used to this time next year.
but the second best jump for Sawada Yuran is 5.43 m, and Yida Lunela has a second best jump of 5 meters. It's the reason why Sawada Yuran has
actually a large amount of the crowd in this home straight moved up to the back tier. She's worked out where the camera is. Nice one. That's a skill that takes many years to develop. Even then, you'll generally get it wrong.
Au son longueur, début du 4e essai dans quelques instants pour les 8 meilleurs athlètes après 3 essais. L'Ukrainienne Oksana Zubkovska est en tête du concours avec 5,66 m devant Yukon Rolbekova, l'Ouzbek 5,45 m.
So day 4 officially here. Day 1 was qualification.
Japonaise Sawada Yuran et Yida Lunela, 5,13 m toutes les deux. Elles sont départagées avec leur deuxième meilleur essai.
So lots happening in the field. This is the F40 men's shot put. And this for Germany is Janus Fischer. 10.91 is best so far. Has him down in the bronze medal position. Lead being held by Gareth Tanaish of Iraq, who we saw lots of earlier. That is a super effort, though, by Fischer, as he's trying to make his mark in this F40 final. Sergio Borsa Moldova, much mentioned earlier on. He's got extra time to practice his music. He didn't make the final 8. Fischer, well on the way to doing so. 10.91 is best so far. That's further, that's 11.43, a new championship record, and he goes into the gold medal position. Tanaish knocked off the top, and Fischer in pole position.
Rashid Maishidi for the Iceland.
The second heat.
Is still the current leader.
Semi-final in the men's 400 metres T11.
49, and now the second place.
We saw the man who held the
Mexican Eric
World and Championship record go out in the opening heat. Mendez. 4 to go in this one. And again, it will be the first who qualifies through to the final, and then we'll find the next 2 fastest after that.
Au départ, la deuxième demi-finale du 400 mètres masculin T11.
Ladies and
So
gentlemen,
2 French representatives
semi-final of the men's 400 meters
to go in this one. Spain and Namibia also represented. Eduardo Uceda Novas,
Line 1 representing Spain.
22-year-old.
Uceda Novas.
Made his debut in 2020 at the Tokyo Paralympics. He moves through to this stage as a fastest qualifier from the heats. Now he'll look to make the final. Timothy Adolphe, the man known as the White Cheetah, the reigning world champion in this event, will go in lane 3.
Line 5 representing Namibia. Chris Kinda.
So a man who won the heat yesterday at his first major championship, Chris Kinda, 51.48. His lifetime best will go from lane 5.
Couloir 7 représentant la France.
And the second of the French athletes, Gauthier Makunda. Bronze medalist in 2012 in London, also in 2020. Has won silver and bronze at the Paralympics as well, over 100 metres. Was also a European champion over 100 back in 2006. There's the reigning world champion from 4 years ago in Dubai, Timothy Adolphe. The real favourite amongst the French supporters. And they'll be hoping for big things from not just him, but also Mukunda as well. So Asida Novas will go in 1, Adolf in 3, Kinder in 5, and Mukunda in 7. First automatically qualifies through to the final. Complete visual impairment category, guides compulsory, and this will take a little bit of time to get themselves ready for the start. All the way at the first time of asking, and the reigning champion Adolf has got out very quickly indeed, already up on the shoulder of Kinder, who is in lane 5, and out wide it's Mukunda of France, who's also looking very strong, but Timothy Adolf has really blasted down that back straight with 200 metres to go, and on the bend it's France in first and second position. It's Adolf who's taking the bend better, and he'll come round into the last 100 metres in the lead, and on the far outside Gautier Mukunda just losing his step somewhat there in his synchronicity, but he's still looking okay. Adolf, well, he looks supreme. Mukunda on the outside, looks like he's going to take second position, but it's Timothy Adolf who goes across. 51.30 seconds for Timothy Adolf to definitely qualify through in first place. Gautier Mukunda in second. And that was a very good run from Timothy Adolf. The second 200 metres down the back straight, he really lengthened out when they got to the halfway mark with 200 to go. As Asida Novas has been, the guide's calling, well, he's gone down, the guide's calling for a bit of medical assistance. He looks completely exhausted there on the track, does the Spaniard. It is a very hot morning here in Paris. So Mukunda, a lifetime best for him in second position. You can see Asida Novas there, who's just being helped to his feet by his guide, Jorge Gutierrez. So I'd say it's just a bit of exhaustion there. Really lung-busting conditions, and this is a lung-busting race, the 400 metres. It might not seem like a lot, but it is a very hard tactical race, and you can overexert yourself, especially in conditions like this. The lactic acid builds up, it's tough on the lungs. It's even harder when you've got complete visual impairment and you're running with a guide. That man there, Timothy Adolf, in first place. Mukunda takes the plaudits to the crowd. The man who picked up bronze in 2012 in London and 2020 in Tokyo. And the French supporters are very happy. But after this start, Steph Reed, when Adolf comes around that first 100 metres down the back straight, is really where he picked off his competitors.
It was a blistering start from Adolf and his guide, Lamy, and he made up that stagger so quickly. And don't forget, that is a double stagger because the athletes are spaced out with 2 lanes each. Some athletes choose to make their mark on the race that way. They like to run a hard 200 meters and hold on. Some will choose to run a more even-paced race, but in this case, that worked for him. But for me, the race from Mukunda was excellent. In his heat, he finished third, and he only just qualified on time. And this time, even though only the top qualifier is guaranteed, he went for it, and he made sure he was there. We could hear the French crowd roaring him on, and we'll just wait for confirmation to see if he did make it through.
Well, it's a France one too. Adolf definitely through. And I'm pretty sure Mukunda, yes, that's clarification there. Mukunda in that lifetime best, 51.53. He also goes through. So France will have 2 of the 4 competitors in the men's 400 metres T11 final.
Absolutely baking still in Paris. This is Rashid Majidi the seated F53 men's shot put. All the throws taken at the same time. That's a serious effort. Well, reckoned in this 8:83 from Andre Rocha, and the championship record 8:42 from 17 years ago from Mauro Maximo of Mexico.
For the Islamic Republic of Iran,
8:16, his best so far, Masjedi.
The second mix from Mexican
8:49, and that 17-year-old championship record has gone. Masjedi is into the lead. Eric Ortiz of Mexico knocked down his second spot for now, 8:24, and obviously he no longer has a right to reply. All the throws taken at the one time. This women's T12 long jump final. Subkovska with the lead of 21 centimeters over Kolbakova of Uzbekistan. Oren Sarada has now dropped down out of the medals into fourth spot. Not that the third placer from Finland, Ida Lunella, has jumped beyond her, but because she's just gone out to 5:08. So the second longest jump by Lunella puts her above Sawada. They both cleared 5:13 as their best efforts so far. We're into round 4. Oh, that's a solid one. That is a very nice one. Well, they've been swapping places because of their second longest jump. It feels like all morning. But Sawada now getting herself into a nice position and aiming to get into the top 3 in her own right.
You can see there her guide just stepping out of the way, just making sure that she is running straight, and that was a fantastic run straight down the board. You don't want to waste any speed making little adjustments. And this is how you have to respond.
She's done well, and now in her own right she does go into the bronze medal position. She doesn't have to worry about a tie with Lunella for one more round at least anyway. She's looking for a little bit more. She's got a little bit more. 5:23, and Sawada moves up to the bronze medal position. Lunella back down to 4. And as we're in the second half of the competition, we are now in ascending order in terms of distance. So Sawada third. Here comes Kolbakova now. Nice set of marks, 5:43, 5:45. She's gone a long way in terms of the chalk. Might just be okay, and she is. It's a fair jump. If she can pick out another 22 centimeters, that would have her in the lead. 5:69 is a lifetime best. 5:66 right now. The lead for Subkovska, and that lifetime best coming this year.
That was good. It almost looks like she's running a 100-meter sprint there, which is exactly what you want. Getting that height and that hang time in the air. I don't know if she's going to catch our leader.
And 5 minutes.
It's still around the same distance, but look at that. Almost as far in the chalk as you can get. So from the tip of her toe, that's where they measure from to the front impact of the sand. And 5:54. She's improving all the time. 9 centimeters up, but she's still in the silver medal position behind Subkovska.
And here is that lady, Subkovska. 5:66, a season best. She is 12 centimeters better off at this stage. Lovely warm morning. Some wonderful para-athletics to go with it as well. World record holder, championship record holder, Paralympic and world champion. Oksana Subkovska opted not to go with her third attempt. So 5:27 with her first, 5:66 with her second. This, her fourth attempt to try and improve on her mark of 5:66. That championship record is 6:51, set 10 years ago in Lyon. And 2012, the Paralympic record is 6:60, the world record. Well, that is much better. She likes that one. Gave herself a rest on jump number 3. Came back into the competition on jump number 4. She'll have 2 more, but Steph Reid, that looked really good off the board.
What I like about the way she jumps and takes off, you can see that knee drive, and she has time to really cycle her legs through the air and then stretch them out. She gave a bit of a fist pump. She liked that one.
Well, 5:66 was the second jump. Still waiting on confirmation of what she had with her third. I can tell you now it was 5:78, so she's improved by 12 centimetres and improved her season best as well.
Men's 400 metres T53, 2 heats in this. These are semi-finals. Top 3 to qualify for the final. The 11-time world champion. 11 Paralympic medals for Brent Lakatos of Canada. He is very much one of the men to beat in this. Lane 3 for Lakatos, lane 4 for France, Nicolas Brinon. World bronze in 2015.
Brazil on line 5.
Brazil in lane 5, Arisvaldo Fernandez, 4th in the 100 metres of the last 3 Paralympic Games, and bronze in the 100 in Lyon 10 years ago at the Worlds there. Back in the days when all the different categories had their own relays, Pritchett Krunget won a double gold for Thailand in Athens in 04. Likewise, the Worlds in Assen in the Netherlands in 06 for Thailand.
Representing Mongolia.
In lane 7 for Mongolia, Enkmanlai Porovtsek, his second World Championships, bowed out in the heats in Dubai and also in Tokyo. And in Japan, 2 years ago at the Paralympic Games, bronze of the 100 for Abdul Rahman Al-Qurashi, silver for him in the last World Championships in Dubai. So Brent Lakatos with all those world golds, he goes in lane 3.
Will advance to the final and the next 2 fastest.
Thoughts on this, Steph Reid?
Oh, my heart is pounding.
So Lakatos in 3, who's married to my co-commentator, in case you weren't aware. Brignon, Fernandez, Krunget, Prevzog, Al-Qurashi. It's the top 3 who go through, plus the next 2 fastest to the final. Great start by Krunget in 6th, who in the Paralympic Games finished down in 5th spot. In the 2 finals he reached 400 and 800. But Lakatos can go now in this T53, the second strongest category of the wheelchair races. And he is gliding down that back straight. He and Krunget are well in control here. Lakatos with the record from London when he won gold. All those golds, the hat-trick in 2017. They straightened up. Brent Lakatos is going to go through without any doubt at all. Krunget going well in 6. It's going to be a good fast time as well. 47.56 is his championship record, and he's 0.3 outside of that. Krunget second, Brignon third, and they automatically qualify for the final. 47.86. That's very close to his season's best as well. Peo, the world record holder, the Paralympic champion, coming in the next heat. But for Brent Lakatos, for Pritchett Krunget, and for Nicolas Brignon, it was not a worry for them. It wasn't a worry for their camps either.
That was, do you know what? That was a great race for Brent. He hasn't raced, he only raced after Tokyo in April this year. He decided to take some time off, and so he came into these champs not really sure what sort of shape he would be in or how he would fare. So that really was a great start for him. This is the men's T53 category. As Will said, it is the medium impaired of the wheelchair racers. And what that means, and the difference between a T53 and a T54 like Marcel Hug, a T54 has full use of their torso and their arms, whereas a T53 has use only of their arms. And that really comes into play at the start. You can see that they won't have the use of their torso to really power into their wheels, and so they're doing that just through their arms there. And that is actually a great slot in slow motion of beautiful technique. Again, not just because that's my husband Brent, that really is textbook technique there. You can see the full extension, the wrists flicking back at the end, and it also really helps in wheelchair racing when you have a long wingspan.
It's good news for the home crowd as well. They had their own athlete to cheer on from the stands. Brignon qualifies, but Lakatos well clear there. 47.86, job done. Psychological blow ahead of the upcoming second semi-final. But he's in good form. I presume you've been speaking to him in the last few hours.
Yes.
Feeling well?
You know, I did text him this morning, which again was part of the reason why I was late.
Brent Lakatos takes it, 47.86. He qualifies along with Krunjet and Brignon. Aristobaldo Fernandez is going to have to wait, but that's not a bad time. 51.87 in fourth spot.
Hey, who's worrying about anyone being late? You got here eventually. We'll set the alarm tomorrow. So our second heat to come in the men's 400 metres T53, but also we have the women's long jump T12 final, and Zubkowska increasing that season best just before we went to that opening heat in the T53 400 metres in the men's category. Zubkowska went 12 centimetres further with her fourth jump, 5.78. She leads now by 24 centimetres over Kolbakova of Uzbekistan. This though, Katrin Müller-Rutgard of Germany, who's in sixth position. This is her penultimate jump, 4.91, her best to date. That with her second attempt. All four jumps thus far have been legal for her.
8:36 is taking the second place.
She does have a season best of 5.49. So a lot of work to go to get up to that lifetime best. And here she goes. And that's fine. She took off from around the middle of the board. White flag given. Big puff of the chalk comes up and she lands in the pit, but you can generally tell by their demeanour when they get out of the pit that she wasn't overly impressed with that one.
Yeah, on that occasion I was getting the sense as well. She thought it was just okay. She generates great speed on the runway. She just doesn't quite get that same sort of lift and that same flight. You can see she is powerful. She powers centrally down, but it's very flat. There's not quite the height that's there.
There's a great arm action from Müller-Rutgard. She really works those shoulders and arms, and like you said, it's the bottom half of her body. She just doesn't seem to get that elevation up that some of the others like Zubkowska can get. So 4.87 with jump number 5. So she doesn't improve on that second jump, which is 4.91, and stays in sixth position as we pan in on the track and the second heat in the men's 400 metres T53. It sees Pongsakorn Payo, the world record holder in this one, who's also the reigning world champion, Paralympic champion, and took gold in the last version of the Asian Para Games as well. 2 from Thailand in this one though. Masabiriase will go from lane 3. Only made the heats in 19 and 20 at the Worlds and Paralympics. Pierre Fairbank will go in lane 4, the home favourite who took silver way back in 2000 in Sydney. Phongsakon Payu, reigning champion, knows what it takes to win this event. Yu Bing-hyung, the Korean, will go in lane 6, and Brian Seaman, who best of 4th, he's been competing since 2011, yet to medal. We'll be hoping to come up with something in this one. But the favourite will be that man there, Phongsakon Payu. Pierre Fairbank, 51 years of age, and still competing strongly. The Frenchman, who's in lane 4. So Arce in 3, Fairbank in 4, Payu in 5, Yu in 6, and Seaman in lane 7. And they get away, and the speed will build quickly after they go through that first 100 metres, and it is the reigning champion, Phongsakon Payu, who's come up on Yu and gone past him on the inside, and he's now got Brian Seaman of the United States of America in his sights down that back straight, and he's roared through that opening 200 metres in just over 23 seconds. So it is Phongsakon Payu who leads, Brian Seaman out in lane 8. It will be the first 3 who go through, so you would expect to see Phongsakon perhaps slow down a little towards the end and conserve some energy. The top 3 look like they are set at the present time. Seaman going through in 2nd position, and then through on the inside there, it is lane 4, Pierre Fairbank. 47.51 is the time, and by my reckoning, that makes it a new championship record, and he's taken the record off Brent Lakatos, who went in the heat just beforehand. We'll wait for confirmation of that, but he's taken 0.05 of a second off that championship record. It has been confirmed. It is a championship record to Phongsakon Payu. Wonderful work. It was the second 100 metres where he blasted down around that bend at the 200 metre mark there, where I thought he might slacken off somewhat towards the end. Brian Seaman, a new lifetime best, also qualifies in 2nd position. And Pierre Fairbank of France, who won silver back in 2000, looks to have taken 3rd position, a season best time of 48.95. Yu of Korea has also gone through as a fastest qualifier, 51.30, but that was an extremely quick time, and he's laid down a marker, has Phongsakon Payu.
That was a great run from Payu, and you can see there he gets up to speed so quickly, and his hand speed and his turnover is so good. And when it comes to a 400 meters, it really is a case of getting up to speed as quickly as you can. Now, we saw in some of the other 400 meter races the effect of lactic acid as you're coming down the home straight, but the physiology is quite different in a wheelchair 400 meters, and part of that is because you're using your arms instead of your legs, and of course you also are using wheels, and so these athletes are actually still building speed as they're coming into the home straight, and that race from Payu, it did look to me as though he was shutting down a little bit with about 20 meters to go, still setting a championship record. So that is quite the message he sent in the heat.
It's really interesting, because most races we look at how they finish the race in the last 100 in a 400 meters, but in this type of race in the T53s, the races are won and lost in that opening 100 meters where they're getting the hand speed going.
Well, yeah, it's definitely one in the opening 100 meters, and then it's also a question of who has the highest top end speed. Those are the 2 assets that you want. Well, really as a wheelchair racer in any race, but particularly in the 400 sprint.
Well, motivation for Brent Lakatos in the final, because he has lost his championship record that he set in London 6 years ago. As we head back to the women's T12 long jump.
Yeah, closing stages of this. The top 3, Zubkovska, 578. Kolbakova, 554. Sawada here, 523. Penultimate attempt. Ida Lunella of Finland has just gone out to 516, her best today, so only 7 centimeters behind. So Sawada looking for something in excess of 523 to take the pressure off. Trying to keep on her stride. Straight out of the pit with barely a reaction. You might think barely an improvement, but we'll see. It's a lot more difficult with the naked eye to work out, because obviously the measuring from where they take comes off instead of a specific board.
Sawada has really impressed me with her series and the difference between a field event and 100 meters. With 100 meters, you only get one shot. That's it, it's done. But a field event, you get 6 attempts. And so you can really use each of those attempts to adjust as you move through the competition, just trying to work out how to get a few more centimeters with each jump.
5:23 last time, 5:23 this time. That will help in the battle to hold on to third spot.
Now at this stage, she'll know she's in third medal position, but that is very, very close from fourth, still within striking distance, so she knows she cannot let off now. She's still going to have to come out ready to jump big in the final round if she wants to secure that bronze medal.
So Kolbakova, what a brilliant set of marks. 5:54 her best from the previous round, a miss in the first round, but improving all the way through. 5:69 her lifetime best from this year. Needs an extra 10 centimeters on top of that. And again, she's gone very deep into the chalk, and it is too deep. It's a red flag. That is a no jump from Kolbakova. It was a good effort. Looked to be out beyond 5 meters, definitely.
But it's far.
But one stride too much.
She will have one more jump.
Kolbakova is under
5 meters.
major duress, but at the same time on the way to her best result of her career.
The current leader of the long jump, Oksana Zubkovska.
You could see the frustration in her face as she finished that jump. Sometimes, and you do see quite a lot of the chalk there, which is why her coach went over just to query it and just make sure that the call was correct. Because at this stage of the competition, you want every jump that you can. But she's frustrated because she knows that she is jumping well. And sometimes at this stage of the competition, she's in second place, but she's not satisfied. We have a great shot there of her foot, and I can tell as she would roll over, you could see how her foot would just clear the end of that board. And even though it's longer, if your foot is not behind the end of the board, it is still a foul.
It was fourth for her in Tokyo in the Paralympic Games. It was first for our leader, Zubkovska, the 10-time global champion. 4 Paralympics, 6 world crowns.
And he's also the Asia record holder.
Well, the children in here enjoying their summer school holidays.
8 meters 20 during the third attempt.
Right across Europe at the moment. He looks happy.
F53 final.
I'd be happy as well. Used to love school holidays. Easiest days of your life at school.
By Russian Mats Yeri, Islamic Republic of Iran, 8 meters 49. It's currently the championship record. Back to the long jump, beginning of the 6th attempt.
Hot out there. Fans operating. Track events still to come. Women's T54, 800 meters. But we do have this.
As Afsa for Team Turkey.
Hamami, with his 4th attempt, is currently in 4th position. 8:20 is best. All 6 taken at the same time, of course. He's the second last of the competitors to take to the chair. He's had his break, of course, after the first 3. You get a slight break, you get a chance to readjust yourself and reevaluate and just take a moment. 8:49 our leader at the moment. 8:20 his best here. Has some work to do. 8:24 is the 3rd position, so he's 4 centimeters off that at the moment. Is Hamami. Took silver in the Paralympic Games in Tokyo. He was a world champion back in London in 2017.
8 meters 05.
So no improvement there
Still on the 4th position.
for the Iranian.
Shot at F53 final.
He was a bronze medalist 4 years ago in Dubai.
8.24 if he wants.
He has some work to do. He stays in 4th position after that 4th throw. We'll keep you up to date with that. But it's time now for the first heat in the women's 800 metres T54. Round 1, heat number 1 of 3.
Features one of the greats of all time, and for many, the top one of all time in wheelchair racing. It's the 800 metres T54, the strongest of the wheelchair competitors. And Tatjana McFadden, 8-time Paralympic champ, 13-time world champion, the 5 times winner of the New York Marathon. Zhao Zhaqian of China, the reigning Paralympic 100 and 1500 meter champion.
He is coming to the podium of the men's shot put F53 final.
Also a European bronze medalist in Lea Bayakula of Belgium, who's more noted of a sprinter.
One athlete to throw, one last to throw. Aleix Kissy, Czech Republic.
All opening in front of them all. But a CV which couldn't be much longer. Tatjana McFadden wrote the book.
Here it is, the women's 800 meters T54 first heat on line 3. Representing United States.
Very liable to be in the mixed relay team. They've got a very strong chance of glory in that because of her. So McFadden, the 21-time global champion, she's in 3. In lane 4, the European bronze medalist in the 100 meters for Belgium, Lea Bayakula. In lane 5 for China, the reigning Paralympic 100 and 1500 meters champion, bronze in the 4 2 years ago, Zhu Xiaokan, holder of 4 African records on the track. For Mauritius in lane 6, Naomi Alphonse.
Representing Norway.
In lane 7 for Norway, from the IL Jada Club, championship debut, Anissa Abdullah. And likewise in lane 8 for Switzerland, introducing Licia Musinelli.
100 meters T54 run 1. The 2 first will advance to the final.
Championship debut for her.
Fastest.
Zhou burst through 4 years ago, and McFadden has never stopped carrying on. The ultimate champion. So McFadden, Bayakula, Zhu, Alphonse, Abdullah Musinelli, top 2 to go through, plus the next 2 fastest across the 3 heats of this women's 800 meters T54. A solid start by Naomi Alphonse of Mauritius, who might just think against this field this is the best chance she has. We do see her in finals. McFadden, obviously, all the time. 8 Paralympic golds, 7 silver, 4 bronze, 13 World Championship golds, 5 of them coming in Lyon in 2013. A 100% record. Every event she entered, she won. A very, very long peak she had in Rio. Well, she was very much the grand puppeteer. She would organise her colleagues, and they'd come through, and generally they would medal. McFadden 1, Zhu 2, Bayakula 3, Alphonse 4 as they take the bell.
And we saw the 5,000 meter wheelchair races yesterday, and the difference between the 5,000 and the 8,000 is that there is no time to make a mistake. You have to be in a perfect position right from the start. That's why the women were sprinting so hard around the first bend. Tatjana wanted to get out. She wanted to control the pack. At the moment, she's exactly where she wants to be. Zhu from China has sat behind her, saving her energy, and this is where they're going to try and come around her.
Bayakula on the outside is going very well right now. against these two storied legends. McFadden, the most legendary of them all, leading them out. Zhu now moving outside in second place. Bearcooler will hope she hasn't gone too early. Alphonse in fourth spot. It's only the top two are going to make it. McFadden and Zhu are those two. Alphonse in third, Bearcooler four. They will have to wait. McFadden and Zhu did not wait. Zhu worked that really, really well. Alphonse is the next fastest for now. That's her for Mauritius. Came through in third place, but Tatiana McFadden, who might not have had the Tokyo competition that she would have desired, and yet she comes out in this heat and full control all the way through. 149.69. She is the championship record holder still from that 5-timer in Lyon a decade ago. Zhu going through 0.2 behind, and they have absolutely nothing to worry about.
So in the 800 meters, you do start in a lane, and you have to stay in your lane around the stagger. There's a mark for them on the back straight where they can fold in. But the reason that they are all starting as though it almost looks like a sprint start is because this here is a fight for position. It's just 2 laps. There is no time to get it wrong, and Tatiana wanted to be in the front, and that's the benefit of knowing, 1, that you're fast, but 2, she was confident enough in her endurance. She didn't care if the other competitors were sitting behind her getting a free draft. She felt like she was strong enough to go to the front, stay out of trouble, and make an easy qualification for herself. They did try to come around just there, but Tatiana held them off, and she still had a little bit left in the tank to keep them at bay.
You never lose that competitive spirit. She always has that. She knows how to fend them off. It's worked well. Tatiana McFadden is in the final. Wasn't in the 5,000. But everybody knows her presence in the 8. Don't worry about that. Tatiana McFadden wins 149.69. She qualifies along with Zhu Xiaocan for the final.
Long jump, T12, women's final continuing. Subkovska still leads there.
4.94
into their final round of jumps.
She will stay on the 5th position of this women's long jump T12 final.
Martinez,
4.98
who went a few moments ago, remains in 5th position. There are 4 left to go. There's our leader, reigning champion, and barring something massive, we'll collect yet another gold medal. She's opted to miss her 3rd and 5th, has Subkovska. She may have it wrapped up by the time it gets to, here's Linella of Finland. 3 centimetres short of her lifetime best at 5.19 she's jumped this year, but 5.16 she's going to need to find another 8 centimetres if she's to collect a bronze medal. It's currently Sawada Uran who at the moment occupies that 3rd position. So here's the final jump of Lina Lunella. Well, she went deep onto the board. I don't know if that's going to be enough for her to overtake Sawada in 3rd place. She's given a wry grin there, but it wasn't the body language you'd expect when she got out of the pit. I think she knows the game's up.
Well, when you're sitting in 4th place and you know that it's going to take a personal best to get into the medals, this is exactly what you do. You saw her at the start really taking her time to visualize and compose herself ahead of that jump. If ever there's a moment to go for a personal best, it is right now in the 6th round for the bronze.
So it was all or bust for Lunella.
5 meters for Lunella. She will stay on the 4th position.
But she'll be staying in 4th position. That's how tight it was. She went very tight to the edge of that board. Of course, it's where they take off from that matters, and 5 metres dead. She doesn't improve, so she takes 4th position. The Finnish athlete. So the top 3 are confirmed in their nationalities. It's a matter of now of confirming in what order. It's Japan in the bronze medal position. Sawada Uran, 5:23, her season best. She's hit that mark twice in her 4th and 5th jumps. She needs to find about 30 centimetres if she wants to get up into silver. Well, she gets up eventually. But I don't think she's going to find what she needs. She'll be happy with the bronze medal. I've got no doubt whatsoever about that. She took the bronze as well in her home Paralympics in Tokyo. So the World Championship bronze is nothing to sniff at either. What did you make of that?
Well, she's jumped 5:23 here. At her best, she is a 5:70 jumper. You can tell from her season's best that perhaps the season hasn't quite gone as she's wanted it to for 98. And you never know what's going on in the background of an athlete. It's tough. Injuries happen, lots of things happen, and often they're things that you're not going to announce. There's a story behind this jump that's going on that perhaps we don't know, but to come out and jump a season's best and get herself into bronze medal and have to fight for that's a great result.
Well, it is no improvement, 5:05, so 5:23 remains her best, and she'll take the bronze medal for Japan as Kolbakova now makes her way towards the runway for her final jump. 25 centimetres required for the Uzbek athlete. 5:69 is her lifetime best that was set this season, so she's going to have to go 10 centimetres further than that. All or bust for Kolbakova. Well, she went all out. It's been given a white flag, so it is a mark. She's got plenty of leg power as she was heading down the runway.
Kolbakova is quick, and you could see her frustration on her previous attempts when it came up as a foul. And sometimes when you get those minor fouls, it is a sign that you're moving quicker, covering more distance on the runway. Now, her coach will have gone back and had to have made a decision as to whether adjust her runway or stay quite aggressive, just give her a little bit more room. And actually, the great thing, she got the white flag there.
Well, is it enough for Kolbakova? The 4th place at the Paralympic Games. It's a silver at worst, a silver confirmed for Kolbakova of Uzbekistan. They are having some week at these Worlds. She gets the silver. Zubkovska is a world champion for a 7th time. And Sawada, the bronze for Japan. She edged out Lunella by 7 centimetres. So Oksana Zubkovska has done it again. She passed up her attempts in rounds 3 and 5. Those weren't misses by her. She can go to 6th time if she wishes to. She doesn't need to. The gold medal has been retained in this T12 final. It's a lap of honour for her. Away she goes. She's delighted with the latest big achievement, her 11th global title. She remains the one to beat for the biggest stage in Paris next year and the Paralympic Games athletics at the Stade de France.
I'm always interested in the psychology of this final jump when you already know that you've won. And on the one hand, people think, oh, well, surely you'll jump really big and it'll be, personal best because the pressure's off. But at the same time, sometimes you really need that competitive boost of knowing you've got to bring something special to win.
Well, there was two things. She was in a hurry to get down the runway because the officials still had the white flag up, and then they brought out the tape measure. So the obviously electronics are not working today.
5:43, Subkovska, the champion.
Championne du monde du saut en longueur avec 5,78 m. Aujourd'hui, son meilleur saut de la saison. La quadruple championne paralympique de la spécialité devient championne du monde.
Women's 800 meters T54. The second of 3 heats. Championship record holder Tatiana McFadden went in heat number 1 and is through to the final. 5 to go in this. The same again. It will be the 2 fastest to go through, and then over the 3 heats, we'll be looking at the 2 best qualifiers to also advance through to the final. Muraoka Momoka, who has 3 golds in the 2022 Beijing Paralympics, where she's an alpine skier. Patricia Eachus, formerly Patricia Keller, already 7th here in the 5,000 metres, but she has picked up medals before and she's gone across many events, including the marathon. Tian Yuan, 24-year-old, her first major championships. Lady who needs no introduction, is not racing in lane 6, Susanna Scaroni. So there's a vacant lane, and it will be Melanie Woods of Great Britain, who was 5th in 2020 at the Tokyo Paralympics, who will be going from out in lane 7. So Scaroni, who took a bronze in the 5,000 metres, has opted not to go in the 800 metres. So 4 to go. Muraoka in 3, Hs in 4, Tian in 5, and Woods in lane 7. And getting away very quickly already, it's Muraoka of Japan, who's gone straight past Switzerland's Patricia Hs, as they'll come around after that first 100 metres or so and then be able to come across towards the inside. The Japanese athlete very strong getting away, but having said that, Tian Yuan, the 24-year-old who has a lifetime best set this year of 1:46.27, has moved out into the lead ahead of the Japanese athlete Muraoka. So it's a race in 2 at the moment, and Melanie Woods of Great Britain, who races out of the Red Star Athletics Club in Glasgow, is just trying to hold on in 3rd place there. But it is China in 1st place, it is Japan in 2nd, as they come around to take the bell.
It looks like Tian is using the same tactics as McFadden. She wanted to get to the front, control the race, and she feels like she has enough to last. Melanie Woods is right there, kind of in what we would call no man's land. Now, she does find this, she has excellent endurance, but that's what happens when you don't quite have the starting speed. She's having to work so hard to latch onto that pack, but she's not giving up. She knows if she can just be there or thereabouts, she potentially has a top-end speed to match.
Well, Patricia Hs, who got off to a very slow start, has now found her racing arms because she's gone around the outside and she's trying to catch up there with the Japanese athlete Muraoka, but way out in front at the moment. Tian of China is going to take her, but here comes Patricia Hs down the outside. She's moved into 2nd position. She's timed it absolutely perfectly, has the Swiss athlete, and she'll go across in 2nd. 1:49.74 is the time there by Tian Yuan of China. So not exactly a quick time, but it doesn't matter in these heats to get through to a final. It's all about getting position, as the experienced Patricia Hs there did. She got away to a very slow start, but she came home around that final 200 metres, put herself into 2nd place with 100 metres to go, and she'll qualify through to the final with the Chinese athlete Tian Yuan.
You're right, it wasn't a fast time, but sometimes the times can be quite deceptive just because the times for wheelchair racing are so dependent on the track. A lot of the season's bests and the personal bests that we see from the wheelchair racers have all been done on the same track, typically either Notwil or Arbon. So at the championships, this really is all about placing. And you never want to see an athlete with a DNF. That was quite a surprise, especially Susanna Scaroni, who would have been one of the favorites in this race. And that really actually changes the dynamic of this heat, because you'll have looked at the racers around you and you will have had to, 800 is about tactics. You don't stay in your lane. What other racers do does matter. So these athletes will have had to adjust when they found out that Susanna was no longer starting.
Well, there is the lady who's gone through in first place, 1:49.74. Ahead of Patricia Eaches. We still got off to a slow start there, but she found her way in that last 200 metres, and she was on the tail of Melanie Woods there for a period of time, just trying to get a bit of a break there, and then she took around the outside, so she clearly had a plan in what she was going to do, because she stuck with it, and at one point she was a good 20 metres or so back, but she blasted home in that last 200 metres. So it is Switzerland's Eaches who takes the second position and goes through automatically, and Momoka of Japan in 1:59.59 is going to have to wait and see if that is good enough. It may not be good enough for that lady, though. Didn't matter what time the winner gets, as long as they get through to the next round.
It was interesting too to watch. There was one point where Tian kind of looked back and she wanted to check out where the competitors were before she made her final call as to, can I just go for it? And you have to do that. You have to look around and be aware. One of the regulations around the wheelchair racers, I always said, well, why don't they just put side mirrors on so they can have a look? But it's not allowed.
I often thought that myself. Tian goes through in first, Eaches in second. Susanna Scaroni, who took a bronze in that 5,000 metres, did not start. Now I can tell you as well, Melanie Woods, even though she finished in fourth position, she was disqualified at the end of that race.
So in this women's long jump T12, Oksana Zubkovska retains her title. 5:78. Jokotun Kolbakova takes her first major championship medal, the silver, 5:54. And Oran Sawada, bronze in 5:23. Ida Lunella for Finland, so close, in fourth. I'll tell you, the costume stores around here have done a roaring trade.
That's Beth Partridge there. She was coach of the gold medalist Jonathan Broom-Edwards from the high jump last night, where he shared the gold medal with his Polish competitor. Beth is the one on our left. And it's a new coaching partnership for Beth and Jonathan, and one that clearly ended with a fantastic first season gold medal. And now we have Jonathan Broom-Edwards. I think somebody was possibly putting some sunscreen on his face there. That's Jonathan Broom-Edwards on the right.
Shared gold from last night with Lepiato. And between them, I think the last, 4 Paralympic Games, and now the last 7 World Championships. It's either him or Lepiato who've claimed the gold medals, or in the case here, a gold each, which was just like Tamberi and Bashim in the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Oksana Zubkovska doing it again, dominant in a field of her own. Well, I'll tell you what, Uzbekistan are having some week. I think that's 11 medals now.
In a few seconds, the last race to follow the
spectacular stuff.
800 medals, T54.
So one more heat to go in this women's 800 metres T54. And we've got the silver medalist from last night in this, in the form of the world record holder, Manuela Schär. Three of the top 5 from the 5,000 meters final last night in this. Liu Shumei, championship debut for her for China in 3. Bronze in the 100 and 400 in the Dubai Grand Prix in February. That is a spectacular multi-sport event which goes on for a full fortnight. It's almost like a mini Paralympics. Manuela Schär, the reigning Paralympic champion over 800 meters and the 4 as well. For Switzerland, Manuela Schär in lane 4. Silver in the 5,000 for her last night. And in 4th place for Great Britain, a brilliant global championship debut for her, Eden Rainbow Cooper. Silver in the marathon in the Commonwealth Games of Birmingham last year. In lane 6, for Germany, the reigning 400 and 5,000 meters champion, silver in the 1 and the 8 in Bydgoszcz in 2021, Merle Menya. In lane 7 for the United States, generally we've seen her in the sprints. 4th in the 100 meters in Tokyo, Hannah Dederick. Branching out a bit in terms of the worlds. And in lane 8 for Denmark, from Kolding, 15 years old, Denmark's only female wheelchair racer, championship debut for Freya Jorgensen. 156.89 a lifetime best. So Liu, Schär, Rainbow Cooper, Menya, Dederick and Jorgensen, the 8 in this. It's the top 2 to qualify for the final, plus the next 4 fastest. 147.31 the target for the next fastest. So Liu, Schär, Rainbow Cooper, Menya, Dederick and Jorgensen are the 6 going in this, and Manuela Schär has rocketed away, and Hannah Dederick as well, using her sprinting nous. Menya, who broke through so spectacularly in her first championships in Bydgoszcz of those Europeans, with 4 medals brilliantly whilst still 16. Her 19th birthday is a few weeks away. Right now she's finding Manuela Schär is a bit away as well. Jorgensen working hard in the field. But what a solid opening for Manuela Schär. Liu moving up as well in her championship debut. Rainbow Cooper as well for Great Britain at the bell. Manuela Schär leading, low in 2nd place. Rainbow Cooper in 3rd. That big target, they're trying to be inside 147.31. Top 2 making it through.
It's so interesting on this shot when you compare the stroke of Manuela versus Liu. Schär seems to take fewer strokes and put more power into them, while the hand speed of Liu is much faster.
So it's 150.64 for Bayakula. That is the mark now. That's changed from a few moments ago. Situation's not changing much for Manuela Schär, who has more than made sure. Liu in 2nd place. Menya battling hard to make her way through. But it's Manuela Schär who's going to make it. The big battle is for the 2nd qualifying spot. Liu's in a bit of bother. Manuela Schär qualifies for the final. 143.44, and she's going to be joined by Dederick of the United States, who wins the sprint. That was some sprint. Liu and Menya were pushing up for 3rd spot. No worries for Manuela Schär. Hannah Dederick needed a sprint to make sure there would be another American in the final alongside Tatiana McFadden. What a nice win for Manuela Schär. She's still awaiting her first world gold on the track. Her first Paralympic golds coming in Tokyo. That because Tatiana McFadden's dominated for so long, and Tatiana McFadden's championship record has gone. Stood for 10 years, not anymore. 143.44, that's been ratified for Schär now. Lifetime best for Dedrick as well, by 4.5 seconds. It was previously 152.72. I've never seen her in a championship 800 meter race before. Lewis made it 148.40.
This is a women's 800 meters T54 final. It will be tonight in Paris for the 2023.
Well, it was interesting your comment at the beginning about knowing Dedrick being known more for a 100-meter sprinter. And the thing with these endurance events in wheelchair racing, if you are good at endurance...
Menya through as well in fourth.
In these endurance events, if you have good endurance, you'll always be there or thereabout, but you'll never win unless you have that change of pace, that quick speed, either to catch up and stay with the pack or to have a sprint finish. And we really saw that from Hannah Dedrick of the USA. And I felt a little bit for Freya Jorgensen of Denmark. It looked like she was a little bit surprised from the gun. But here we have Manuela Scher, and it's interesting to see that in all three of our heats, each of our winners use the same tactic. Get out to the front, run it hard, stay out of trouble.
Well, Manuela Scher well clear. Dedrick winning that brilliant sprint on the outside in lane 4. Ahead of Lou in the end, but she needn't bother. Needn't worry too much, Lou. She's through in third, Menya in fourth, and just edged out in that sprint altogether was Rainbow Cooper. But Scher was absolutely flying. Silver in the 5,000, looking for more here. And Freya Jorgensen, a solid debut for the 15-year-old to be alongside such greats. Scher, championship record 143.44. She goes through. Dedrick, lifetime best 148.13, along with Lou and Menya. Rainbow Cooper just edged out. And Freya Jorgensen of Denmark in 6th place. But a championship debut at the age of 15. If you're watching in Denmark, you want to join her so that she would no longer be a country's only wheelchair racer. It's parasport.dk if you want to get involved. All disciplines. So Scher made it. She's the fastest by a long way. Dedrick qualifying 2. Well, it's been a really decent morning here, and for some it's just been a bit too much. I think we all know how he feels. Men's shot put to start off the day, the F53. Rashid Masjedi has won that championship record 8:49. Lifetime best Lakud, the silver for Ukraine, and Alice Kizi, the bronze for the Czech Republic.
Women's discus throw, I should say, F64. Wai Juan, season best time of 41.66, taking the gold there. Koloska, also with a season best, picks up the silver, and Samantha Hayerson with the bronze. Season best there for Della Harris as well.
Victory ceremony to follow this afternoon after midday, 12:36 to be precise, and until 4 p.m. this afternoon.
Women's 400 meters T20, the winner here, Julia Šula, European champion, going through along with Minda, František, and Felix.
And the second heat, Brianna Clark breaking the championship record of her own. Karina Pyman, a season best, going through, and Angulo also qualifying automatically. Nana of Japan going through as a fastest qualifier.
Men's F40 shot put, gold for Yanis Fischer. Championship record 11:43. Tanayash Asian record with the silver. And Miguel Montero, the bronze for Portugal. Tanayash for Iraq.
Not much of a breeze. Lovely morning. And the only track final of the morning session, the men's 400 metres T36. James Turner retaining the title he won in Dubai 4 years ago. Stedman of New Zealand with the silver, and Chavez for the new America's record of Argentina, the bronze.
Women's long jump T12, Zubkovska doing it again for Ukraine. 4 times Paralympic, now 7 times world champion. Kolbakova the silver for Uzbekistan, and Sawada the bronze for Japan.
Men's 100 metres T13, 2 heats in this one. In the opener, a season best for Skander Athmani, who picked up the first place. Barros and Damini also going through, and Sverd picking up that qualification place, courtesy of his time of 11.13.
Salam Kashafali, 10.74, broke the world record of the Bislett Games last month. Chad Perez through with him. In second spot, Alex Zorzi, Nambala as well. That's looking like some final. Philip Handler in 5th spot.
Well, talking about looking like some event, this one here, the women's 200 metres T13, Adi Iglesias, who was pipped in the 100 metres, a season best, heading through in first. Kirkov and Keita of France going through, and also Turkey of France qualifying as well. Flying times, flying heats.
Bianca Borgello with that bronze last night in the 100, edging out Orla Comerford for that, winning a heat to the T13 and qualifying along with everyone else. Suarez, Matai and Candela Cerudo in a lifetime best.
Men's 400 metres T11 complete. A visual impairment. Gerard Descarrega, who qualified in his season best time. Philip de Souza Gomez also going through. Mendes, the world and championship record holder, crashing out though, finishing last in his heat.
Timothy Adolphe as well, straight and narrow, winning his semi-final of the 400 T11. Gautier Makunda making it a French 1-2. Très bien.
First of the men's 400 metres T53 saw great excitement in the box with his wife Steph Reed cheering on Brent Lakatos, who qualified along with Krunga and Brignoni. He did hold the championship record. Fernandez goes through as well. I say he did hold because you'll see why in a moment. That record was broken in heat number 2.
By Pongsakorn Payo, the Paralympic champion and world record holder, 47.51 the new mark. Brian Seaman, Pierre Fairbank and Yoo Byung-hoon of Korea qualifying for the final as well.
We're staying with the wheelchair category, the women's 800 metres T54. 3 heats in this one. Tatiana McFadden taking the win in heat number 1. Zhu of China also going through, just 0.2 of a second behind McFadden in that one.
Tian Yazhuan of China and Patricia Eckers of Switzerland qualifying as well. Melanie Woods was disqualified in that, and Susanna Scaroni, after medaling in the 5,000 last night, did not start.
Well, the world record holder is also now the championship record holder. Manuela Scher in heat number 3, a lifetime best for Hannah Dederick by a good few seconds going through. Liu and Menya also qualifying through to the next round.
Well, we've seen a nice amount of championship debutants in this, and in some cases from unusual parts of the world. everybody welcome China with their 3 gold medals, 9 to date. Ukraine with further success. Poland through Lepiato in the high jump last night at their 2nd gold of the games, and succeeding here in the long jump. New Zealand with the gold last night in the shot put for Lisa Adams, trained by her shot put champ sister Dame Valerie. Uzbekistan now with 10 medals. That doesn't include the long jump that's wrapped up in the past couple of minutes. Turkey with their success as well, along with Iran and Bulgaria, Algeria, Azerbaijan with 1 title each. Denmark through Daniel Wagner in the long jump last night. Great combination that was. He had the championship record for a while. Latvia through Diana, formerly Dadzite. And Canada, that brilliant 100 meters. A bronze last night in the T13 from Bianca. Had that great success in the past few minutes.
Well, 5 finals in the morning session, 4 on the field, 1 the track. In the evening session, we'll have 13 finals. There are 5 in the field. We'll flip it around. There will be 8 on the track. There are people flying in for the evening session. We'll be here. They'll be here as well. Till next time, it is bye for now.